Hi, I am Viljami Lappalainen. This time I wanted to do something slightly different. Well, actually, return to my previous idea about representing characters by acting them. Okay, so next one up. I hate when there are people who just, they are all thankful for whatever you've done for them or on your face, but then they are like hateful behind your back. There's certain sense of self-righteousness when there are people who, they first ask you to help them. Yeah, okay, sure, it's fine. I'm ready to do that. Okay, that's cool. But the problem is when you've done that, they are like furious about how you've not done it perfectly when you've given actually your own time freely to them, because they've complained endlessly about how difficult their financial situation is, how they can't themselves actually do what they ask of you because they are so frail. The usual type. But then, when you've done what they've asked, actually, and they've been like, oh, this is so wonderful, and then they complain all about it. I'm deeply furious about it, that there was some slight mistake, that they didn't want to actually say anything about you, but everybody else, of course. It's like, it sometimes feels like there are people who actually want to just complain. They want to have something to talk about. That is why they sort of create situations. If you didn't help them, they would be like, how it's a person who just never cares about anybody. And they would be like complaining about that they weren't helped. And if you actually accept the payment from them, then they would be like, how greedy. There's always something to complain about, endlessly. And it's sort of like, it's like the whole lifeline where to be, to endlessly complain about everything. You have to have something in your life, like, anything at all. It's as if they are the people who just need something to feel bad about. It doesn't matter what. It's sort of funny, I mean, I personally wouldn't want to, know such people. If it weren't like, I have my own problems. In a way that I really like to, think that everybody deserves help if they need it. But there are just some people who are really, really trying, for to live your values. Perhaps it is. Perhaps these people really know that you actually have some values, so they want you to reconsider your position that everybody needs help. It's possible. And sometimes I think that's actually very likely. Hmm. Okay. I think that this character I acted, I think what he was thinking about was really like clear. I hopefully, I don't know, but it was sort of inspired by, obviously I do know people who like to complain a lot, I don't. Well, I mean, it's. But I wanted to sort of the mundane conflict. You know, the kind that. Well, I mean, it's normal to have. I mean, people have different values, and sort of frustration of person who like really tries to live out his or her values. And when you encounter people who have like, well, quite different ones, not in some cramp, we have to wage war kind of way. I mean, no, but I mean, like in like Monday slice of life. I mean, you have people with truly different points of view into life, and it's something I find very curious. I mean, we are so limited in our points of view. I mean, obviously, I mean, since I think it's obvious that we have to learn by our experiences. I mean, experience can also mean by ideas we have been taught or we have thought up. But I mean, by our change has to be based on something. So, and I think that whatever we observe and how we interpret what we observe changes us, like how we think world is. So we are by necessity bound by this sort of, I don't know what would you call it, like bound by our experiences to our personal point of view. And then we have people with very different points of view and situations. And it's something I would like to be able to write fiction about, you know, sort of how our pers- personal points of view, how we by necessity interpret world by it, and how it is formed by our experiences. But by its own virtue of being personal point of view, it is limited, and how it it can be really reasonable to believe what you've learned, in sense that how well, rational agent learning by Bayesian probabilities and would come to similar conclusions, like having the probability distribution of models would be like what you believe in. Even given that, different points persons in different life situations would come to believe different things because their experiences are limited by systems they interact with that give them limited exposure to different experiences. So I think it is reasonable, even if we are perfectly rational, because our environment exposes us to limited selection of experiences that are different from those of others. We are by necessity experiencing essentially different world from others, and that's why I find sort of slice of life interesting as idea. I mean, like experiencing different world, not by living in different world, but by living in same world, but because those experiences we experience are affected deeply by our personal uh, social standing, status, institutions we interact with, how others view us. So I mean, we are always sort of trapped in our own lives, and of course, I think we should strive to be liberate ourselves and others from these prisons of perspective, of course. Since I mean that's my religious position, we have to free humanity. But anyway, so mm, uh, um, so this. But for fiction point of view, I mean it's entertaining. That's how, and of course it's sort of humbling and sort of embarrassing when people see the world differently and we sort of experience that, oh, that sort of makes sense, but oh, how horrible it is. I mean, not necessarily because it's terrible or horrible really, but because I mean we feel ashamed at times, and that's sort of funny. Or we are really good in trying to sort of emulate within our minds what others are experiencing and can feel bad about it. It's sort of funny how fiction can capture our cognitive systems. Mm. But oh well, it's been like 11 minutes already, so I think this is enough for today at the moment. Thank you for listening. I'm Viljami Lappalainen and this is my vlog. Have a nice day. Bye!